Hi, I'm Jamie Cox. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can find your unknown family using DNA testing. This video should be helpful to anyone who doesn't know for sure who their parents or grandparents are. You might be an adoptee or anyone else in a situation where you don't know the truth about your family. The great thing about DNA is that it doesn't lie. Adoption records and birth certificates can be wrong, family stories can be lies or just mistaken. Everything you discover through DNA testing is the truth, even if it may be difficult to understand or accept. We have entered a golden era of DNA testing. You can now have a genealogical DNA test done for less than $100. Your test is matched against other people who have done the same test. Because millions of people have tested, you will have a good chance of finding the matches you need to solve your own mystery. A surprising number of people are in the same boat as you, looking for their family. Lots of them are solving their family mysteries every day. Success is common but not guaranteed. Your chances are very good, but there are some ways that your search could disappoint you. If your family tree is very sparse, for example, if you happen to be the only child of an only child of an only child, then you will have no possibility of close DNA matches. I am in the United States where many people have taken DNA tests. If your relatives are located somewhere else, very few of them may have been tested. Finally, when you reach the end of your search, you may be disappointed to find that your family is deceased or is not welcoming toward you. Your DNA quest will probably take a while. Think of it like a giant jigsaw puzzle that will take several months to finish. You'll probably go through 2 or 3 rounds of DNA tests at about a month each. DNA testing prices are low, but they can still add up when you need several tests. You can easily spend $1,000 or more over a period of a year or so. A subscription to a paid genealogy service is optional. I think Ancestry.com is very helpful. If money isn't a problem for you, just get it. If you want to save some money, there are some useful free services. Even though I have an Ancestry subscription, I still use these services frequently. I will put links to all these in the YouTube description along with any other online links you see in this video. So, now that you know what to expect, let's get started. You may have already taken one DNA test yourself. Your next step should be to test your parents or grandparents if they are available. There are several reasons for this. First is mortality. When they pass away, you lose the opportunity to have them tested forever. Second, a parent's relationship to any DNA match will be twice as strong and twice as reliable as the child's relationship. The third reason is for sorting your matches. If you are searching for, say, an unknown father, you should still test your mother because it will allow you to easily know if people who match you are on your mother's side or on your father's side. If you have aunts or uncles available, it's great to test them if your parent is not available. Next, you should test yourself on 23andMe, Ancestry.com, and Family Tree DNA. If I had to pick only one, it would be Ancestry because they have the largest database. But each of the other services gives you millions of additional chances to find the matches you are looking for and another chance to hit the jackpot with a really close match. You can also download your DNA results and upload them to GEDmatch. GEDmatch is free and gives you another chance to find matches. In my own case, I found it surprisingly useful to test my brother. That seems weird, right? Your sibling has exactly the same ancestors and relatives as you do, so what's the point? Siblings have the same ancestors, but they don't have the same DNA. My brother is a stronger match to some cousins than I am. I might have overlooked those matches without seeing his results. The DNA tests we're mostly talking about here are the most common type, known as autosomal DNA. There are also specialized tests called Y-DNA and mitochondrial DNA tests, which can be useful in certain cases. Y-DNA in particular can help if you are looking for your father or father's father, etc. It can give you a hint as to what surname or surnames you should be looking for. Only males have Y-DNA though, so if you're female you might be out of luck unless you have a male relative from your father's side to test. To find your family, you need both DNA testing and traditional genealogy. No prior knowledge of your own family is needed, but you do need to know how to research and build a family tree. If you are a beginner, the good news is you will have time for some on-the-job training. So while you are waiting for your DNA tests, you have time to learn how to build a family tree with your selected tools, say on Ancestry.com or with Roots Magic, WikiTree, etc. Please attach a partial family tree to your own DNA results. You do not need a subscription on Ancestry to do this. If you only know one side of your family, include that. You don't have to fill in every detail. Just include the names and birth dates and death dates you do know. To the nearest year is fine. Even just your parents and grandparents is helpful. This will end up helping you and helping other people also. Learn how to find census records, death records, etc. online. Learn to use Find a Grave. Make sure you know what a half-first cousin is and what a second cousin once removed is. Decide on an organization system. I used a paper logbook for a while to keep track of who and what I was working on. I also made a spreadsheet listing my DNA matches. There are some really excellent cheat sheets to help you interpret your DNA match results. You will refer to these often. Go download them. Links are in the description. Ancestry reports your DNA matches with a number of centimorgans. I don't claim to understand the technical meaning of this, but you don't need to know. It's just a number. Small number of centimorgans mean a distant relationship. Large numbers mean a close relationship. The relationship between a parent and child is about 3,600 centimorgans. People who have a match of less than 7 centimorgans are considered as no match or unrelated. Everything else is somewhere in between as shown on these charts. Okay, so now you finally got your DNA results back. The first thing most people look at and the thing that's advertised on TV is your ethnicity estimate. It's pretty much just a marketing gimmick. It's not fake, but it's also not very reliable. Siblings who have exactly the same ancestors can have noticeably different results. In any case, it won't help you find your family. If you haven't attached a tree to your DNA results yet, do it now. As part of your results, you also get a list of people who match your DNA to some extent. This is where it gets interesting. The information you're looking for about your family is buried in this list if you can find it. In this video, I'm showing examples from Ancestry.com, but the same ideas apply no matter which testing services you are using. You will probably have thousands of matches. Ignore all those distant matches and concentrate on the first page or two, about the first 100 matches. You should have plenty of material to work with there. If you see matches in the parent-child category or immediate family or close family categories that you are not expecting, wow, you've hit the jackpot. You should take screenshots or otherwise record all the information you can. This is because people can delete their DNA test results from the system at any time. People sometimes panic and do this when they see you pop up as a close relative they were not expecting. So make a copy. Probably, though, you don't have anything closer than third or fourth cousin. No problem. You should send messages to maybe your top 20 or 30 matches. Do it soon, since sometimes it takes a long time to get a response. For some reason, a lot of people never respond. However, the ones who do respond can be a gold mine of information. Give them your email address and ask them to respond by email. Once you get their email address, you are much more likely to get a timely reply the next time. Obviously, if they don't have a tree, ask them for family tree information. Ask them about any scraps of hints you may have, suspected surnames or cities or states. Now you're going to pick out about 5 or 6 of these matches for intensive study. The guy in the middle is your best candidate so far. He's your closest match with a tree attached. It has 656 people on it. If you have taken more than one DNA test, your best matches may not all come from the same service. Make sure that the people you select are not administered by the same person. That's a sign that they may be closely related to each other. Try to exclude matches who are from branches of the family that you already know about. This is where it would be helpful to have DNA tested your mother, for example, if you were looking for your father. If you don't know anything at all about your parents, you should probably pick a few extra matches. On Ancestry, you'll see that a lot of your matches have the note "No Family Tree." This is unfortunate, but not quite as bad as it looks at first. You'll want to work through the first page or two, clicking on View Match to get more information. Here's the Ancestry Match page. I want you to notice a couple of things. First, this is one of the people who was identified as no family tree on the list of matches. However, if you look at the bottom of this page and see a pop-up saying, select a tree to preview, then the person actually does have one or more family trees, which they simply haven't linked to the DNA test. Use these with caution, but a lot of times you can make a shrewd guess that one of these trees does belong to the DNA match. You won't know if a match actually has a family tree unless you visit this page and check. These unlinked trees are not searched when you do a surname search on your matches. Next, you will want to know the amount of shared DNA in centimorgans. That way you can look it up on the cheat sheets. Ancestry gives you a kind of crude estimate of the relationship, but they also give you the number, so you can check and decide for yourself. In the center of the screen, you'll see a lowercase I in a circle. If you click on that, you'll see the pop-up window. In this case, it says that the person matches you with 52 centimorgans. I always record this in the notes field so I can easily see it from the list of matches without having to return to this page. I also use the notes field to highlight surnames in the matches tree. I also record if the match is on my mother's or father's side of the family. Anything you put in the notes, you can then see with one click from within your list of matches. Before you get in too deep, I want to warn you against leaping to conclusions. Slow and steady does it. We're dealing with very large numbers of people here, so some results may be counterintuitive. Ancestry allows you to search your DNA matches for a specific surname. This produces such broad results that it is almost useless. It searches the trees of all your matches for that surname. You probably have thousands of matches with family trees attached. If the average size of their trees is around 1,000, then you will be searching over 1 million names. It's not surprising that virtually every surname you've ever heard of will be in that list somewhere. For example, I am not related to any presidents that I know of. However, Ancestry says I have 38 matches with the surname Truman, 7 with Eisenhower, and 90 for Nixon. None of those surnames are actually in my family tree. In my DNA matches, I have found some people who are, say, fourth cousins to both my mother and father. That does not mean that my mother and father were related to each other in any meaningful way. It just means that a distant cousin of mom had a child with a distant cousin of dad. Believe it or not, you have lots of cousins who appear to be a different race than you. Some of them will be your DNA matches. Don't worry about it. Race, like ethnicity, is not an exact concept. The existence of such a cousin doesn't necessarily imply anything about the races of your own ancestors. Don't play the game of looking for resemblances in photos. It's way too easy for wishful thinking to take over. There will be plenty of time to compare photos after you're sure who your family is. If you think someone is your cousin but their DNA test doesn't match, that's not necessarily a problem. Half of your actual fourth cousins will fail to match simply through the normal variation in DNA inheritance. Some third cousins may also fail to match. Second cousins and closer, though, should have a detectable match. If not, there may be a problem with your family tree. Many more people have the same first and last name than you might expect. Don't assume they are the person you are looking for. Check their date of birth and place of birth to be sure they're the same person. Okay, let's get to work. You've selected your top 5 or 6 matches. Now you need to work out their pedigree back to their second or maybe third great-grandparents. You probably have a big head start because some of them already had trees, or they agreed to tell you some of their family background. It wouldn't hurt to include some great aunts and uncles in these trees. You're going to make a half dozen trees like this, so it could take a while. In traditional genealogy, you would take it very slow and find confirming evidence for each relationship. Because these are research trees, you can skip some of that stuff. For our purposes, it's more about the tree being probably correct. So while working on these, I take shortcuts I wouldn't do in my own family tree. For example, I bring in chunks of someone else's family tree with minimal checking, and I accept relationships from Find a Grave at face value. Try to determine people's date of birth, place of birth, and date of death, because these will help you distinguish one John Smith from another one born at a different time. Many people have the same name who are not the same person. So why are you doing all these pedigrees? Because at some point you'll be working on one of these and all of a sudden you'll go, hey, that person's name looks familiar. I've seen this person before. These two matches share a common ancestor. Bingo. This is your breakthrough moment. This is what you are looking for. This is probably not a coincidence. But to make sure, you need to check your other matches. You should be able to find other matches who are related to that same family. In my own case, once I had the breakthrough, within a few hours I had found 2 or 3 more matches who were related. Obviously, recheck your list of pedigrees you've been working on for those same people and surnames. Now might be the time to use the surname search. Search your matches for the surnames of the breakthrough couple. If you are on the right track, you should expect that some of the hits will be relatively closely related to you, say with more than 30 centimorgans. You should then be able to quickly run through their family trees to find the same people or the same surname in the same geographic area. Remember, one nice thing about the surname search, it only finds people who have a family tree attached. Certainly, if you find 3 or more matches who share a common ancestor, it's not a coincidence. That person, or maybe their parent, is your ancestor. Congratulations, you found part of your family. You might hear of people using something called mirror trees. A lot of people get hung up on that step. The point of using a mirror tree is just to get to this breakthrough point. I'm not a big fan of mirror trees for reasons I won't go into here. In any case, you probably don't need them. But if you finished 6 or 8 pedigrees without finding someone in common and you're stuck, then sure, go ahead and try a mirror tree. Almost everyone who gets to this point eventually draws a diagram more or less like this, a family tree of their DNA matches. This particular style is called a McGuire diagram. There's a link in the video description, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Your breakthrough couple will probably be at the top, Adam and Eve on this example. Information at the bottom of the tree indicates how the living people are related, first in centimorgans above the line, and second by cousinship below the line. You can draw this with any tool you like. I've seen a lot of them drawn with a pencil. This one was created with draw.io. Again, there's a link in the video description. I didn't show them here, but normally you would probably include surnames and birth and death years. The seeker over on the left is you, the person looking for their family. There will initially be a lot of question marks on this diagram, but if you find matches who will cooperate with you, they can fill in some of the blanks. If you recruit family members to take a DNA test, you will also get the numbers from those tests. This is a useful diagram to explain to other people and to yourself exactly why you think you are related to a certain family. You are done making pedigrees. Now you'll invert the process and make a descendants tree. This potentially has a huge number of people on it. Hopefully you will be able to rule out certain branches as you go along. Again, you do not need to do meticulous genealogy here. It's better to be inclusive. If you have doubt whether a given couple had 7 children or only 6, go ahead and include the 7th one. It's better to have an extra person than to miss someone. Did someone have 2 wives or only 1? Be generous. Include them both. I'm going to show you some tricks to help narrow down the field of suspects. People have a tendency to focus on their matches and their match's immediate family. This would be a mistake. Your immediate family hasn't been tested yet, or you would be done already. Let's consider the case above. Charlie with the star is a match to you with 443 centimorgans. That makes him probably your first cousin once removed. Remember that DNA can rule people out as your parent as well as rule them in. In this case, Charlie's siblings are ruled out as your parent, since if they were your parent, Charlie would be your uncle, but the numbers say that he's not. However, his test rules in his untested first cousins on the right. One of them almost certainly is your parent. This type of logic can apply to other situations, however it becomes less certain as the relationships get more distant. Here's another trick to help you prune the giant descendants tree. Like most of our genealogical research, this is based on the idea that people have children with their spouses. That's usually true, but not always. In the diagram, there are 6 siblings. Maybe they are your grandparents' generation or your great-grandparents' generation. You've decided that you must descend from one of these 6 people, but which one? You will also descend from his or her spouse. However, you will be unrelated to the other 5 spouses, assuming they are unrelated to one another. So use the tools we already discussed again. Build a small pedigree for each spouse. Look for common ancestors between the spouse and your DNA matches. Some judicious use of the surname search might help here. Of course, finding matches with the same surname means nothing. You need to find a match with the same person on their tree as one of the spouses. If you find a good match or matches to one of the spouses, you can stop worrying about the other 5 branches of the tree. You started with a couple who may have been your great-great-grandparents and worked forward through the generations. Now you are concerned with people who are probably still living. Census records are not available until 72 years after they were created, so the only people you can find in census records are those who are at least 72 years old. You will have to change tactics to locate your living relatives. Social media such as Facebook can be very helpful. There are search engines that can help you find addresses, emails, and phone numbers for people. Zaba Search and Pipple are 2 free services that are very helpful. Most such services are an endless series of ads and come-ons to try to get you to subscribe to a paid service. A paid service might be worthwhile, however, you can get some useful searching done for free on these 2 sites if you are careful to avoid clicking on the ads. Paid or free, there will be many errors and omissions in your search results, so take everything with a grain of salt. Remember, there are many people with the same name. Don't leap to conclusions. You'll reach a point where you've used all the information provided by your best DNA matches. You probably still won't know exactly who your parents or grandparents are without further testing. Once you have narrowed it down as far as possible, you can think about doing some more DNA tests. Use your best social skills when making contact. Start off on a general genealogical footing by saying that you think you are related to their family, but you are not sure how. This is true. Try to find out which of their family members are particularly interested in genealogy or family history. You might find the family genealogists online by their family trees or forum posts. Such a person is more likely to understand what you're up to and be interested in finding out about new relatives. When you do ask someone to take a DNA test, you should probably offer to pay for it. Some people might be offended by the idea of someone else paying for something for them, but it has worked okay for me. The first person I contacted seemed interested and wanted to test their sibling also. Testing their sibling didn't seem like it would provide any benefit for me, but I quickly agreed because I didn't want them to change their mind about testing. So I bought tests for both of them. In retrospect, I'm glad I did test a sibling because it gave me more confidence in the DNA relationships. Even though they were definitely full siblings, there was quite a bit of difference in their measured relationship to me. This happens often in DNA testing. Be sure to mention that the test is a saliva or cheek scrape test. Some people will be reluctant because they mistakenly believe it involves blood. Each test you do will give you another clue to help decide who to test next until you are done. Even though you have made a lot of progress, it is still possible to get stuck towards the end of your search. Suppose you are looking for your father. If he was born out of wedlock or was an adoptee, then he probably will not appear in the expected place in anyone's family tree. He will be in someone's family tree who may be biologically unrelated to him. The DNA trail may reach his biological parent or grandparent and then go cold. In the absence of written records or personal memories, there may be no way to use DNA to find such a person. Your hope at that point is to wait, and maybe your unknown parent themselves or maybe one of your unknown siblings will get a DNA test. So even if you get discouraged, don't forget to check your matches every now and then. Around 1 million people are being tested every year. In my own case, I am looking for my grandfather. He has to have been one of 8 brothers who are all dead now. 3 of the brothers had no children, or at least no children with their wives. Once I have DNA tested a descendant of each of the other 5 and they are all eliminated, there will be no way to use DNA to determine which one of the 3 remaining brothers was actually my grandfather. There is simply no one available to test. In some cases, if you are stuck, you may be able to give yourself a second chance with the tools you have already learned. You can start over and find a new tree for a different branch of your pedigree. To do this, go back to your list of DNA matches. Pick a new group of matches who were not in your original group. Also make sure that they are not shared matches with members of that group. Create pedigrees for these new matches. Find a new breakthrough, a new common ancestor. Make a new McGuire diagram, now for another side of the family. Start a new Descendants Tree. Maybe you'll have better luck pruning this tree down to a logical conclusion. Depending on who you are looking for and who's left alive, you are done when you get a DNA test confirming a parent, sibling, grandparent, etc. In my own search, because I am looking for a grandparent, and because so much time has passed, the closest relative I could possibly find alive for testing is a half-first cousin. I hope this was helpful to you. I will be very happy if this helps some of you to find your missing family. Thanks for watching, and please leave comments below on the YouTube page. That's also where the links are. Don't forget those links.